guys, and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be talking about using Pinterest boards to write your novel or story or book, whatever. Pinterest boards are something I decided to do randomly a while ago, and they have helped me immensely to write everything, come up with ideas. They are just the best thing on writing a book, I would say, even more than outlining. And for Pinterest boards, I'm talking more about characters. Pinterest boards, not really plot, not really any other things, because although I do those, I really focus on character boards. And also, side note, if you hear a bunch of bells and like a bunch of scrambling, there you go, that's my cat, that's Belle. So why are they important? They help you keep track and keep the structure of a character as you move throughout the story, and especially if you have a series, you can see how they've changed without getting all of those characters messed up in your head and just forgetting the arc of every single one. In this case, it's physical and you can see it, and you can always come back to it and change it without searching through a Word document. The second reason why I think that they're important is they give you inspiration. So anytime I have writer's block or I'm in a slump or anything, I will go onto the Pinterest boards and scroll through to remind myself what the character is and why I love them and why I love writing about them. And I will also sometimes add to the board, but once you get to a certain point, you just realize you're like, all of her characters already here, I can't really add too much more. And the third reason why they're important, I would put it more in the helpful category, is that when you're promoting your book on TikTok or Instagram or something, you can use those images from your Pinterest board to create not only aesthetics for your book, but aesthetics for each of your characters. And that gives your readers a window into what the book is going to be about. So let's jump on to what I normally put into my character Pinterest boards, and I'm also going to put a printable of this onto my Patreon if you want to go check that out. I have like a checklist when you're making it, it's super helpful. One of the first things that I do when making a Pinterest board is looks. So whether that is faceless pictures of hair color, body type, or if it's just me searching up character inspiration and finding somebody who I think looks the most like the character in my mind. I think it's very important to have those looks, that way you keep a consistent view of the character. Another thing I like to include, sometimes I don't always do it because it's really only important for characters that are LGBTQ, include their sexuality. So you can do that in flags, you can do that in little quotes, you can do that in just colors, like some of them will have aesthetic colors like a rainbow. Or some of mine just have them and their significant other, which I'm going to touch on later, so that will also help you envision their sexuality. And this is what I do instead of creating one of those character, like about your character worksheets. Bella's coming to visit us. I include their strengths and their weaknesses in these Pinterest boards. So for example, one of my characters is super strong. He has his muscles in the Pinterest board, but he also has a weakness of being afraid that he can't protect anyone. So I also have those quotes in there. Another one of my characters is the leader, and that is both her strength and her weakness. So she does have those leadership images, like people standing in front of crowds, but she also has those images that are like, I don't know if I'm doing anything right, feeling hopeless. So not only does that create those strengths and weaknesses for them, but it also creates a character. Past is another super important one. So if they've had any issues in the past with relationships, friendships, family, or somebody they know has died, that's super important to put that in there because it's going to affect them. Even if it doesn't affect them right off the bat or on the surface level, it's still important to know that is part of their character. Hobbies are a great one to include. So for my story that I'm currently writing, super violent. The hobbies that I have are kind of knife throwing, archery, fighting. But the other ideas that I've had for stories, you can have somebody who's a soccer player, so they have a bunch of soccer. Swimming, art, ooh, I do have that in my story. I have someone who's really good at art. Cooking. Just make sure to include that because it makes the character three-dimensional. It makes them have a personality outside of the role that they fill in the storyline. And going back to the hobbies thing a little bit, I was talking about in my story, a lot of the hobbies are kind of violent. So if you do have more of that in your story, make sure you include a character's favorite weapon or tool. So like in the Hunger Games, Katniss has her bow and arrow. What would she be without her bow and arrow? So I have a character that's really good at knife throwing. I have a character that's really good at hand-to-hand combat. I have a character who's really good at archery. So make sure you include that, because if everybody is just a good fighter, it's not specific. It doesn't add to the story at all. You want to give your characters an image, and if they're all just like fighting, it's not that exciting. And that's all the ideas I could come up with for this video. If I forgot something, I will probably add it to the printable on my Patreon. I hope my examples were helpful, and please reach out if you have questions. I definitely want to talk about this in one of my writing classes that you'll gain access to on my Patreon. Sorry, I'm talking about that a little bit. But yeah, I think that's really all I have for you guys. Leave a like if you liked it and want me to do more of this writing advice for you guys. Subscribe if you're not already, and I hope you have a good day.